The Dental Brief is brought to you by Omni Premier Marketing and the amazing guests who bring wisdom and advice that you can put to use to take your business and practices to the next level. Find us on Facebook and join the conversation. Get ready to grow because we are kicking off the next episode in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Dental Brief. Excited for today's guest, today's program. Always love these guests that spend so much time to help dentists be better practices, better business owners, better leaders. Without further ado, Ingrid, Murra, say hello to everyone.
Nice to meet you, everyone.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a pleasure to have you here. We're the day before Thanksgiving, so again, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us. You're with my2front.com. We're going to get into that in a little bit, but first, why don't you tell our listeners, how'd you get involved in dentistry?
I decided to become a dentist when I was 8. Probably similar story to a lot of us. So I'm an orthodontist, and I basically was super insecure about my smile. And I'm going to age myself right now, but I asked Jeeves, what do I do about my mouth? How do I make it smaller? Turns out I just needed orthodontics, and I started going to my orthodontist when I was 8. I grew up in New Orleans. Dr. Gottsagen, shout out, he's a G. And I loved him. And I said, this is what I want to do for the world.
Yeah, and so you go on to dental school. Where'd you go to school?
NYU.
Okay, and so before you even got to NYU, you knew you wanted to be an orthodontist?
Oh, yeah.
Yep, awesome. So tell me, what are some challenges that you see that dentists are facing right now, orthodontist or general dentist? What are some problems that you see them facing?
Well, the problem that I've dedicated my life to is helping dentists and orthodontists straighten people's teeth super effectively. The reason that I think is a huge problem is because Invisalign is this amazing tool, but it's extremely challenging to implement at a dental practice. And this is coming from someone that I'm really lucky. I got to specialize in straightening teeth using Invisalign at Harvard. And I graduated. I was like the nerdiest student. I did nothing but study till I was 30. And I was like, oh, I'm the best orthodontist I can possibly be. I'm going to be super successful, go to New York City, make a boatload of money, make a lot of people happy. But it didn't matter that I was a specialist. There was all these issues with offering Invisalign that being really good at Invisalign clinically didn't solve for me.
So what's the evolution from there? So you went from there to My2Front. Tell me about My2Front, what you're doing there.
Yeah, so I'll start with the problems that I experienced that really made me really miserable and depressed, because I thought that there was going to be this pot of gold and at the end of the rainbow, which was I couldn't do really good care at all within any sort of business model. It didn't matter if it was I was in-house at a GP practice, in-house at an ortho practice, peds, DSO, it didn't matter. I was struggling closing patients because so many people saw Invisalign as a commodity and they wanted to go price shopping. I was struggling with insurance. I was struggling with the high Invisalign lab bills. I was struggling with chair time, compliance, all these different issues. And I realized the clinical is only half the battle. There's the business and administrative side that's really, really challenging. So I experienced that as an orthodontist. I went to NYU, so obviously I had hundreds of GP friends. Their first year of doing Invisalign, they were like, this is a dream, this is amazing. And then 2 to 3 years in, I had friends being like, Ingrid, how do I get out of these cases? So that's when I really realized we need a different business model. This isn't working for dentists and orthodontists, but what we can do with it, the outcome is incredible. So I started 2Front. We went through, I knew nothing about business at that point. We went through 4 different business models. I raised venture capital funding, and I built and shut down 4 different business models that didn't work. And finally, we landed 2 years ago on this model where basically we serve as the virtual orthodontic practice for dentists. So what that means is that we are full service running the orthodontic arm of dental practices using Invisalign, where they can offer their patients the highest level of care. So that's not only partnering them with a top 1% orthodontist who can treatment plan all their cases, it's handling everything from closing patients, providing those third-party financing providers, fair pricing, charging dentists or paying dentists upfront for delivering cases. We provide all insurance support. We provide all administrative support, all Invisalign operations, dealing with all that, all their nonsense, patient compliance, and managing patients virtually, so that effectively all a dentist has to do is they have 2 pieces of technology. They install a patient intake form in their lobby and sign up patients for assessments with their new orthodontist that happen virtually. And then they have a platform where they manage the Invisalign arm of their practice from their phone at a glance, just as if they were managing their house on Airbnb. They can manage their orthodontic practice through the two phone platform.
Makes a ton of sense to me. So downsides, I know that our audience is probably thinking, okay, but I'm going to give up a significant portion of revenue, of profits in order to do this, right? I mean, that's a legitimate concern.
It's a legitimate concern until you think about all the time you actually spend. You're actually more profitable with us. So to break that down, right? So average person in the country is getting charged $1,879 by Invisalign. Add on sales tax, we're at a little bit over $2,000. You get charged the processing fee, $9.99 every time you scan an Invisalign patient using the iTero, which most people don't know. They're taking 4 to 5 scans. There's all these costs, right, that go into it. And what most people don't realize, I know I didn't when I was practicing, I was trying to figure out is how much time you're actually spending on an Invisalign patient. And so we're part of the Invisalign Special Markets program now, which all that means is they could give us access to data. We're not like tied to them or anything. We could use any clear aligner that we wanted. But what it means is what they gave us is information on how much time the average dentist is spending per Invisalign case. And so what we found is the average GP, they're doing 8 cases a year. They're doing 2 refinements. They're seeing patients every 6 to 8 weeks. And believe it or not, between all of that and the ClinChecks, that's 10 hours of time. So as dentists, we're one of the only professions that doesn't think about how much we charge hourly. Like I work with a designer who loves charging me $135 an hour every time I work for him, even for talking on the phone. Like he's like my lawyer. As dentists, we don't think about that, but we should, because that's how we build a really profitable practice is how much money are we making per chair time hour. And so the difference with doing Invisalign yourself is you're charging something 5 to 6,000, maybe 8 to 10,000 if you're in New York City or California, right? But then you're spending all this time on ClinChecks, on chair time, on refinement, on emergencies, and all your team's time too. Insurance, finances, you're dealing with accounts receivable issues. And so you have these 10 hours that, by the way, is completely uncontrolled because as a GP, you're not an expert in moving teeth. And so there's more chances of getting more and more refinements. Whereas with us, we actually take that chair time down to 90 minutes.
Yep.
So you're making way more money per chair time hour.
Yep. So getting it down to 90 minutes, patient comes in, patient does scan in the office, scan goes to you treatment plan. Dentist goes over that treatment plan with the patient, or do you go over the treatment plan with the patient?
Good question. So in the dentist dashboard, they get a video of the ClinCheck with a voiceover from their orthodontist saying, "Hey, Dr. Smith, here's how I set up the case." And they, by the way, collaborated on the case before. And the dentist is like, "Hey, the dentist is like, I want to set up this case for veneers. I want to upright that lower molar. I want to place an implant." Orthodontist designs it that way, sets up the case, records a video saying what's up, here's how it's going, sends it over. That lives in the dashboard with all of their details. So let's say the patient needs elastics. You're going to see, all right, here's my ClinCheck video where I can see how the case is set up. So I know exactly what to say to the patient once they're in the chair. They have elastics. All they have to do is order the elastics, give it to the patient. One of our patient concierges will walk them through how to put it on. And that's it. They have everything in their dashboard and they can basically just observe and manage and lead instead of trying to do it all themselves.
Yep. So when trays come in every 2 weeks, every month, how does that work? Do they go right to the patient? Do they go to the practice? How do new trays work?
So unfortunately, Invisalign has a lot of control over that and they has to go directly to the dentist. But what the dentist can do is they give them all their aligners. And we actually ship a separate care package directly to the patient, which includes a teeth scanner. And we're showing them how to use that teeth scanner. We're giving them a whole booklet and instructions. And there's a whole series of patient support emails and texts directly from their concierge, which helps them throughout their entire journey. And so our concierge team is checking in on them every single week to make sure that aligners are tracking. So if the patient has 40 aligners, the dentist can actually give them all 40 aligners.
It's brilliant. So this to some might sound a little bit about another national brand that was advertising, but it's really a hybrid of like having really great customer service and help from orthodontists that you can reach out to. It's not a big corporation, but also being able to still have one-on-one patient care direct with that patient, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so the other benefit through, as dentists, none of us want to lose control. Like we think in millimeters, right? Like we're probably the biggest control freaks ever. The beautiful thing about this platform is you have full control. You have direct access to your orthodontist 24/7. Like they are chatting all the time. It's like amazing to see. It's so cool. But you also have direct access to all of your patients. So at any point, you can go into any of your patients at your patient section of your dashboard and see how their scans are and send them a message. Hey, what's up? Your teeth look amazing. How's it going? So you're still the hero. Like the orthodontist doesn't have the relationship. You brought that level of care to your patient and you get to manage the whole thing the whole time.
Makes total sense to me. I mean, it's brilliant. I think one thing that I see from dentists all the time, we get the phone calls and we're very careful about this. And someone says, "Hey, I want to start marketing TMJ, right? Or sleep." Those are the two big ones. Sometimes it's Invisalign. It's always like, okay, well, why now? Well, I took a course. Well,
Oh,
why? Well, because it's either like I'm really interested in it or I'm really trying to figure out ways to bring in another profit center into my practice. The issue with bringing another profit center into your practice, if you're already struggling with general dentistry, bread and butter dentistry, bringing something on doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have instant success. Sometimes your problems are actual problems and not the products or services that you're offering. Maybe it's your team, maybe it's your phones, maybe it's your appointment setting, all of that treatment planning, case acceptance. Just because you bring in TMJ might not help. I see that with Invisalign too. I don't see it as much because I think the cases seem to be a little bit easier to manage if you're only doing 8 per year compared to doing 8 sleep apnea cases per year. So do you see that too? I mean, do you kind of understand where I'm going with that and that problem that I see there with
totally.
dentists?
It's
Yeah.
what are the hidden costs. It's the
Yeah.
hidden cost. It feels good to get that cash up front, but the
Right.
hidden cost is what's actually going to happen to that patient, what's going to happen to my practice, my staff, my team. And there's a lot of hidden costs with Invisalign. And you're
Yep.
mentioning that you don't see it that much because most dentists are only doing 8 a year. And that's a huge opportunity. Like that is such a huge opportunity. You know, all these companies, Smile, Direct Club, Candid, that went under. I don't know if you've seen the FDA is actually shutting down mail order clear liners finally, thank God. But what that did is it left a wake of people who want to straighten their teeth. They spend a ton of money on marketing.
Right.
And so, for dentists to not service them, like I always ask our dentists whenever we get a new member, how many of your patients do you think can benefit from straight teeth? And everyone laughs. Everyone says all of them. And you're doing
Yeah.
8 a year when you have 8 a day. Like that is the opportunity is we are living in a virtual world where people are constantly looking at themselves. Content is everything. And we know that beautiful teeth can help people's lives. And so I think that's the huge opportunity is you could be starting 8 a week if you were doing this right.
Yep. Makes sense. Okay. So someone wants to get more information, they want to learn more. Obviously, they can go to my2front.com. What does that process look like? What's the journey of understanding your company and what you do and how it can work with a practice? What's that look like?
It's super easy. So basically, all dentist has to do is apply on our website. There's a little bit of a 15-minute application process because we're only licensed in certain states. We only work with dentists with iTeros.
Okay.
And so from there, they meet with someone on our team. If it's a good fit, we get started. They meet with an account manager in our team, runs them through the entire dashboard. It's a beautiful dashboard. It's like I manage my home on Airbnb whenever I travel. It's literally like managing your practice in Airbnb. You then install the QR code into your waiting room or in your back office, whatever you prefer. We do a custom workflow depending on what works for the practice. They start signing up patients. So that means that patients in the practice, the very next day, can start getting assessments with their new orthodontist. They start chatting with their orthodontist, the dentist, introduce themselves. Hey, what's up? They start working together, give a little bit of background. They normally hop on the phone. And then from there, they're just chatting about every case.
It's awesome. My2front.com. Dr. Murra, thank you so much for coming on here. We appreciate you sharing.
Thank you for having me.